you guys are there. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. What a wonderful day I've had. So, this is Sandra Bishop. Whether you're listening on the radio, is the radio back up? Or I don't see it back up. I guess it's not back up. Or watching me over Ustream, or any of the other ways, multiple ways that you can get to see me. I want to say welcome. I have had such a fantabulous day. Regis, thank you for your comments on the picture of me and my dad. My cousins actually came in town to see my father today at the hospital and snapped a picture. And it was so cool because he just seemed so lifted in spirit to have, yeah, to have his people there. And I know, yeah, thank you. He does look good. And everybody says that all the time. And no matter what he's going through, he's just, that's how he looks. And it's so wonderful. His color was good today. He was sitting up in the chair and actually trying to talk. And it was just a good day, but busy, because as soon as they left out, they changed us from one floor in the hospital to another floor, and it was almost like a new admission, a new admit. Met a whole new team of doctors and new nurses, saw new orders for his medications, all of that stuff. And so this new room is much more comfortable. I almost felt like I could have done my broadcast out of it. But yesterday when I was online, I kept getting knocked off so much I didn't want to take a chance. So I came on home to do the show. And of course, that's my commitment, to always be here no matter what. And so even if I'm a little late, I'm here. So peace and blessings and greetings to you guys all. Oh, the radio station is up. I see it there. Lynn must be back in town. Maybe. No, I don't know. But nevertheless, I'm so happy to be here. So, as always, I start off with the introduction of A Course in Miracles, which is right in the front of your book. It is right behind the table of contents and in front of the text, chapter 1, paragraph 1, all of that stuff. Right in front of that, it reads like this: This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish a curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The aim of the course is not to teach the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to your awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposites. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way: nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Yay! As I was saying that, I was reminded once again how important it is for each and every one of us to work constantly at removing the blocks to our awareness of love's presence, which is our natural inheritance. Um, I have such interesting experiences, as I know you all do. The other day when I was on here and I heard Paul making comments after the show, I was thinking to myself, I sit down in a chair and I have, thanks to Dove and Dove's encouragement, have developed a level of comfort that says that I can sit down with no notes, with just me and a closed book, and you and the microphone and a board and a camera, and begin talking, and know that whatever is supposed to come out comes out. whatever you're supposed to hear, you hear. Whatever is supposed to be communicated is done, and it takes little or no outside effort on my part other than to the willingness to be here and to be present. And as I listen to other folks, and I know that a lot of times our comfort level is to come on here and with a prepared something, we write up something, or, get an idea in our head and think to ourselves that, on this particular day, this is where I want to go with my talk. And to some extent, I understand that comfort level, and I have received in the past people who wanted to disregard what I said, as if, unless you study a certain amount or write out this speech or been in the course for a certain amount of time, people want to disregard what it is that's being said. But what's the interesting thing is that since I've done this for so long, I have, and I can't tell you how long I've been at this, but not always with the focus of A Course in Miracles, but with the focus of simply communicating love. I did a radio show for 12 years, and it was called Let's Relate in Love. I'd get on the air and I'd say, let's relate in love. And it was on regular terrestrial radio, an AM station, and I did it for years. And the focus for me, the only thing that my purpose was in that was to show people how to better love themselves, to show people what I thought was my way of revealing love. And the course, since I started studying the course, or after I started studying the course, it made it so much richer and so gave it so much depth to it, that even though I was then taking what was a secular topic and then putting spiritual principles up underneath it without necessarily telling people what I was doing, but yet doing it anyway. I was applying the course without intentionally giving people this spiritual message so that they could hear it. And so, and let me say too, while I'm on that spot, that sometimes religion and spirituality is one of the blocks to our awareness of love's presence, because in our minds, we have so many people who have been, like I told you guys the other day about my experience in that church. So many times we've gotten beat up and beat over the head with religiosity and notions about God and what God wants from us and how God wants us to respond. We've been so beat up and battered by that whenever we hear Father, whenever we hear, God, whenever we hear Jesus, whenever we hear something about church, people tend to run the other way. If you bring up spirituality, they run the other way, because the perception is that all of a sudden you're going to put this heavy load trip on them. And so they don't want to be bothered with that at this point in their life. They don't want to be stressed out. And you know what? I can't blame them. If it was me that was feeling like this thing called conviction, if I was feeling beat up by the principles of God and religion, I don't think I would be after it either. I would not seek out. I don't seek out to be beat up on a regular basis. And so it's a block that people put up and they can't hear it. Now, I will tell you, some people probably drank the preacher's wine. Yes, he was sober and pissed. Yeah, I mean, and sometimes I feel like when I drink that little wine, I feel like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean, I know we call it grape juice, but I'm like, I, I came up after Jim Jones era. I sometimes think that people are drinking the Kool-Aid, and I have to like do a double check. Or here they say, let us all drink together, and I think I'm gonna give this a few seconds now, because I remember. So so it becomes a block. It becomes a block to our awareness of love's presence, because we want to say that love exists in some areas. Love exists in our bedrooms, love exists in our house, but not at the job, not at the church, not at here. And so it becomes these things where we have put up so many blocks in our way, that we can't see our way clear to what love truly is and how it is spread out upon the earth. How love is ever present in everything we say, think, and do if we're open to it. But we have blocked ourselves off so much from that that we can't get to it. So it becomes this thing. If I believed, if I had the notion that I was being beat up by spirituality, if I had the notion that God was unforgiving, if God was holding something up against me, I would have a block there and I wouldn't be able to do it. So this becomes about developing here a level of trust that says, I can come in here, I can sit down in front of this mic, I can have a book, I can have my closed books and have absolutely no idea of what I'm going to say, and know that Spirit or God is going to give me in that moment what I'm to say. Now, here's also what I know it to be true for me is that I need to, in the midst of what I'm doing, keep an open heart and an open mind. Because if I keep an open heart and an open mind, I am hearing what it is that I am guided to say, as opposed to me constantly thinking, you know what, and that's what happens for me. I can't speak for anybody else, but that's what happens for me when I get a sheet in front of me, if I prepare a speech in front of me. What happens is that I get in the way. That paper gets in the way of me hearing and responding to Spirit and being spontaneous in that sense. So I get to come in here and develop a level of trust that says that, you know what, God is going to be, is ever present, and not just the idea that God will show up, but that God never left, that God is never absent for me to go seek out something outside of where I am. And so I come in here, and it's almost like this whole thing of like dropping a rock. I just throw it down and it's like, ugh, and there it is. I don't even know, in the midst of what I'm talking about, if what I'm talking about is making sense to you, because I don't even know. I don't know that I'm processing a thought. I don't know that I am sitting here and thinking to myself, okay, and the next sentence is going to be, or that it's like almost like I just, like open my mouth. I literally open my mouth and I talk. And so the fact that people listen to me is such a blessing. The fact that it makes sense to you is such a blessing. The fact that I get to just be used by Spirit, right? To let it flow through me. And I think that that is how the course and everything else that we do truly comes through. It becomes this willingness that we have to just open up and let it be. And then as it flows, I'm not on here trying to fuss at anybody, telling you what to do, how to do it, or anything else. I'm just being who I am in this instance, and that I have labeled beautiful and good, and let it be. And that's all it's going to be. There. So I said it. Okay, so now I opened up my book like normal. And I'm going to look down at this page, not because I've run out of things to say, but because, I like to do this. It's so funny. When I'm in class, I go to class, and sometimes I have a general idea of some stuff that maybe I need to like the next topic. And then I'll go in and I sit down, and as I talk about a little stuff, I'll present some kind of idea to them. And then I'll open it up for us to have some discussion, which is what I love because it becomes so rich. When people start to not understand, it's as if when you start to talk, and we go down the street, and it seems like we go down the street and we go around the corner, up the next block, we loop back, and then by the time we get to the end of the class period, it seems like we've come full circle from where we started, but with a new understanding that is so beautiful. And it always works out that way. I mean, it's like there is no intent that says that I'm going to come in here and this is the idea that they have to get. It just, God takes care of it. I mean, it just takes care of it. And so for all of us, it's all about developing this level of trust to know that whatever will be is what is going to be. And it's exactly how it's supposed to be. So I looked down at the book, and I see this thing that just jumped out at me. The maker of the world, I opened it up to chapter 25, the justice of God. And this is perception and choice. What a wonderful chapter, huh? It says, the maker of the world of gentleness has perfect power to offset the world of violence and hate that seem to stand between you and his gentleness. I love this because this is kind of what happened last night, what we kind of talked about last night in my other class, you know, um, whatever. It is not there in his forgiving eyes, and therefore it need not be there in yours. Sin is the fixed belief perception cannot change. Sin is the fixed belief perception cannot change. What has been damned is damned and damned forever, being forever unforgivable. If then it is forgiven, sin's perception must have been wrong. Oh, don't you love that? And thus is change made possible. The Holy Spirit, too, sees what he sees as far beyond the chance of change. But on his vision, sin cannot encroach, for sin has been corrected by his sight. I love how they capitalize those words, his sight. And everything that, so we understand that it's not just him over there, it's his sight. And thus it must have been an error, not a sin. Oh, don't you love that? For what it claimed could never be, has been. For what it claimed could never be, has been. Sin is attacked by punishment and so preserved. But to forgive is to change his state from error into truth. Oh my goodness. Okay, so, oh my goodness, don't you love that? So let me talk a little bit about yesterday for a second, just to bring you guys up to where I am. So yesterday we talked about in class, we talked about this notion of this oneness and how our ideas attack oneness when we try to make our brothers guilty, see unloving thoughts and see all this other stuff in the world. And so this one woman who's in class constantly focuses on things that seem to be tragic. So she'll bring up things about, well, what about when a baby is killed, or when somebody does this, or when somebody does that. And so she's constantly talking about this. And I know, we kind of revert back and we talk about what is, what we are, the truth of our being, how we can't be, we can't be harmed, not having attack thoughts. We talk about all those things, but also with the awareness that, that people in their life experience, until they get to the point where they're saying that none of this is real, they're still walking through the steps. And so, we're sitting there and we're talking about all of this stuff, and it's so wonderful because as we talk, other folks that are in the class begin to also minister not only to her but to themselves. So as we teach, we learn. And so it becomes this process that as everybody begins to get into the discussion, they're learning it and elevating it to another place where it wasn't previous to that. So it's not just me sitting there trying to tell you what to think, but a conversation between everybody there in the room, and everybody there trying to say it from the perspective of their own understanding. And so, as she sat there and she talked about what, when she sees tragedy happen in her family, or here and there, we talked about this idea of what we're looking at. Now, let me share this with you guys. Because I can, and because, no private thoughts. I'm always sharing my truth with you. My mother, oh, my mother. I'm so much like my mom. If you could have met my mother, I always tell people when and I don't know if I told you guys this before or not, but I always tell people when they ask me about my mother, it's like, if you met me, you met my mother. I am just like my mother. Different complexion. I'm much lighter than she was, but very much the same, not just in look, but in nature, in disposition, and all that stuff. And so, my mother was what I would call a worrier, what most people call a worrier. My mother would worry about everything. I mean, you give her something, she would just worry. It was as if she was just, um, uh, I don't know what they used to have names for folks like that, but she was just a worrier. She would stand there and look out the window and worry about whether or not it was going to rain, or worry about whether her kids were home, worry about this, worry about that. And my mother, bless her heart, died when she was what, 54, 55? No, maybe she was 56. But it was, to me, it was one of those things that was so premature and hastened by the process. You know how Carolyn Miss and a lot of other people talk about our biography becomes our biology. So if you're worrying, if you've got all this stress in your life, it can't help but have an effect on your health, on the health of your body. And so anytime we're taking on this stuff, these things get caught up in our spirit, and our spirit responds by manifesting something within this physicality of our bodies. And so, she was such a worrier. And so as we talked about these things, it was as if, you see what it is that you expect to see. Worry comes from the old English word wrangle, strangle. Yeah, I mean, and that was what she did. I mean, she was just, and I could see that, wrangling her hands and all that other stuff. But what we see, I remember seeing one of the Star Wars things, and it says that what we see depends largely on what we're looking for. If you're always looking for death, if you're always looking for violence, if you're always got an eye out for sin, if you've always thinking that your brother is wrong, always looking to convict somebody, always expecting the worst, if you're always getting that, guess what you'll get? You will get exactly what you expect to get. And so worry just produces more things to worry about. Stressing produces more things to stress about. Being miserly, just gives you more reason. I mean, everything that we focus on in our minds, we just get more of. And so we make it we make it up as we go along. Okay, the universe, yes, it says yes to us. And so as we get caught up in those things, what we see is that the world of violence and hate seem to stand there between God and his gentleness. But that's because that's what we're looking at. That's because it's our expectation. So she's sitting there and she's saying to me, well, I don't know that people expect these things. Well, you know what? If we didn't expect it, if we didn't have that expectation, what we see, what we would be looking at would look different to us. So if I am a person like I tell you guys, I'm constantly focused on only the love is real, only love is real, only love is real. If I'm focused on that, and I'm saying to myself, only love is real. When 9/11 happened, I'll tell you, because I was a grown woman. I was here in this house. I was, in there working on something totally different. 9/11 happens. I get a phone call. Somebody says, hey, turn on your television. The world is, they were basically telling me that the world is coming to an end. So I go in there, I get the remote, I flip on the television, and what I see is a plane running into the building, just like all the rest of us. That collective experience we all see at the same time. It happens. Boosh, it goes in. Next thing we know, mouths open, we're gasping for air, thinking, oh my God, is the building falling? And it's like we see all of this stuff happen. We hear the telecasters, we go through all this stuff. And you know what I asked? I said, you know what, God? Show me the love. Let me see the love here. And the moment you ask the question, the answer is given. Now, what the problem is with some people, those blocks, because we hear the answer and we don't want to accept the answer that we hear. The answer that we hear is not quite good enough for our ears or for our understanding. And so, yeah, we are sitting up here saying, oh, no, God, you got to come up with something better than that. And the truth is that I'm sitting there and I say, you know what, show me the love in this, and immediately I saw the love. And so it becomes this thing of if you choose to focus on the fear and the violence and sin, then what you'll see is fear, violence, and sin, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, that's what you'll continue to see, because that's what you're looking for. That's what you expect to see. That's what you're looking at. But if you look with new eyes, right? Because we get to make a choice on how we see. We get to make a choice on how we see things. So if you decide to look with new eyes, I'm going to rub my eyes and maybe I'll look through my rose-colored glasses until I make the adjustments that are necessary for me to see with true eyes. I look through my rose-colored glasses until the compensation, the distortion is compensated for, or compensating for the distortion. I look and if I look through different eyes, I can see the gentleness, I can see the love, and I can say, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as my grandmother used to say, in the sweet by and by, it may not happen immediately because I don't want to hear it immediately. Sometimes it's like, I just need to be mad for a minute. I'll tell you guys, sometimes, honestly, truthfully, I need to be mad for a minute. And so sometimes it's like, even though I know the truth, even though I know there's love, even though I know only love is real, whatever is not love is a call for love, even though I know it, I just need to be mad. And so when I need to be mad, then what I focus on is, I can conjure up all the kinds of things to focus in on. But the maker of the world of gentleness has perfect power to offset the world of violence and hate that seem to stand between you and his gentleness. Oh, don't you love that? I mean, it's so perfect. And so what has been damned has been damned has been damned forever, and seems forever unforgivable. It seems that way. What did it say? Remember in the scripture that I read to you guys the other day? We dam up heaven against, so many people put up all these barriers, and they want to make it seem like getting to God is this huge obstacle course. And you got to run and jump over this hurdle and that hurdle and then the next hurdle, and that one's even higher. And then you got to hit that long stretch. And then once you get that long stretch in, that 500-yard dash that seems to take you about 10 years to make. Then you got another hurdle, a high jump, and then you got to shot put it, and then you got to do some other stuff before you can get to the thing where people will say, oh, and now you've made it into the promised land. I mean, what is that about? We try to keep people out as opposed to trying to open up the gates and let them in. And so when we realize that it is really God just loving us and there is nothing for us to do, that you need do nothing because it already, God, the allness, everything that is already loves you. How do you know that? Take a deep breath, and even when you're stopped up like I am, you still know that you got this energy and this love pulsing through your very being, through your body. It is giving itself that divine energy that is you every moment. That's love, that total unselfishness that says yes. Every time you wake up and think you want to wake up, it says yes. Everything that you think you desire, and even those things that you think you hate, but you call upon anyway because you're giving your attention to it, it says yes. I mean, what is there not to see that is, I mean, that is so much love. It's just like you don't even have room to receive it all. I mean, the thing is that your blinders, the blinders that you put on, are there because you have chosen those blinders. What you don't see is what you have chosen to blind yourself to. I can't see it. I can't see it because you rather see something different. But you know it's loving you. Oh, it's loving you. Just like I am. So let me look down here again at this book again, and you know what, I don't know, I could just talk. Y'all know I could talk, I can talk, I can talk. So and I'm on page 525 in my book, and I don't know what the justice of God and perception and choice is in your book, although I've got one of those page converters here, but it's if you've got a really old book, but I'm on page 525 in my book. And so I'm on the last paragraph there on that book page. And so let me say, but to forgive is to change its state from error into truth. So sin is not this thing of your eternal guilt. It's of your momentary error that you have made. And the moment you recognize it, then it just kind of like makes it all go away, knowing that you have never stepped outside of this exactly where you're supposed to be. I mean, isn't that so wonderful? It's not sin. It wasn't a sin. It was an error. It was an error. You erred in your thinking. You erred in what you did. Um, and okay, so here, I'm not even going to belabor that point. Let me go on, and I'm going to read this next paragraph here. The Son of God could never sin, but he can wish for what would hurt him. And you know what? How many times do you want to be punished? It's interesting. I've got this girlfriend. I love her. I love her. She's one of my better friends. Anyway, she said to me one time that she came up in a household where she used to talk about she watched her mother constantly being abused by her father, to the point of where she said that her mother would receive punishment just like the kids would. I mean, whether she was getting her butt whooped or getting punched or slapped or whatever, she grew up in a home where there was domestic violence. So she was married to a guy who was, and I'll say this, I don't think they watch this or watch my video or listen to this. I don't know. They could. I'm always surprised about the people who listen, and tell me they listen later on. But she said that, she had married a guy who was significantly smaller than her, I'll say. She was a healthy woman, and her husband was probably about 70, 80 pounds lighter than she was. And, he was very soft spoken, very nice guy. I used to adore him. I still adore him. I just don't see him as much anymore. And she said to me one time that she was not happy. She was no longer happy at home. And she talked about all the things that she did to him, that, she'd go out and she'd take his stuff and she'd go throw it out on the front lawn, or, she would just, rip his clothes up, or she would do any number of things. It was just interesting. She would do all these things. And then she said something to me very strange one day. She said to me that he didn't love her enough to hit her. He didn't love her enough to hit her. And I thought that was the most bizarre thing I had ever heard, that somebody doesn't love you enough to hit you. And it kind of like jarred me. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, how everybody has these different perceptions of what it means to be loved. And so I remember thinking, I had all my thoughts about that, and I had a hard time. I had a hard time. Um, okay. I had a hard time with a lot of the stuff that I thought about when it came to and related to domestic violence. But when she said that, I was thinking to myself, okay, now what kind of idea, what kind of mind comes up and sees those types of things? But then it was after that when she was going through and she was single, that every time she did something that she herself didn't like, so she was going through a divorce, she divorced this guy, she was going through this divorce, and she didn't have anybody to pick fights with, or to try to provoke. So when she would do something that she herself didn't like, what she would do was then go get a piercing, or she would go and get a tattoo, or something that caused her pain. And I would just, and as much as you want to sit back and say to somebody that this is not how love is, that love doesn't manifest itself by pain in your body, to her that was love, to her that was what she was working through. And as a friend, it was something that I tried to work through as much as I could with her, by simply bearing witness to what I knew about love. So it says here that the Son of God could never sin, but he can wish for what would hurt him. And he has the power to think that he can be hurt. She can wish for what would hurt her. She has the power to think that she can be hurt. That's just a body. But for so many of us, it's another block to our awareness of love's presence. It's another block that keeps us from recognizing that no matter what, that we're loved. It's another block to our awareness of the oneness of all of life, of all of us, of all of the sonship. Dove says, my daughter said I should not have put on more parental controls. You should not have put on more parental controls, right? Is that, hmm. And so, no, no, that's not what you said. I should have put on more parental controls. Okay, okay, okay. So, and so wait a minute. What, I mean, did I pass that point down? Am I confused? My daughter said I should have put on more parental controls. Yeah, okay. So I got you. I got you. I got you. The first time. Okay. So So it's, it becomes this thing. Let me finish reading here. I'm like 15 minutes away from the time I got to be off here. So let me keep on going. What could this be except a misperception of himself? Yes. And is this a sin or a mistake, forgivable or not? Does he need help or condemnation? Is it your purpose that he be saved or damned? Forgetting not that what he is to you will make this choice your future. For you make it now the instance when all time becomes a means to reach a goal. Make then your choice. But recognize that in this choice, the purpose of the world you see is chosen and will be justified. Don't you love that? So here's the thing. In that church that I went to on Sunday, and this applies in so many levels. As he sat there and he talked about the sacredness of the things that we were about to do, the communion and all this other stuff. He talked about the sacredness, and he also talked about the hell and damnation that would come to us if we didn't recognize and give certain reverence to what we were doing. And as my stomach started to churn and I started to feel fear and got all caught up in the fear-based teachings that he was having, I remembered something that I did. I used to do training here in Cleveland. I would go out and I was a trainer, and I would travel throughout the county. Ohio has like 88 counties, and they're pretty big and pretty and the one that I live in, Cuyahoga County, is pretty well populated. I mean, you'll remember back in the election that George W. Bush stole, that Cuyahoga County, we had so many problems with our voting and the voting machines here and all that stuff. So this is a huge county, and a lot of people here. And I would go out and I would do training throughout the county for people. Um, and it was so interesting because I remember somebody was making up a test. We were making up the test for these folks to determine whether or not they were, they would pass on or be allowed to work actually at the particular election. And these tests they were making, and as I read through the questions on the test, I said, well, wait a minute, are we actually trying to get people to pass or to fail? Are we actually trying to get people to work, or are we trying to shut out people from working? And so sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what is our intent? Is the intent to damn people? And you know what a dam does? A dam holds back water. A dam changes the natural flow of water. A dam is, holds things. It keeps it out. It keeps it in, or whatever it is. But is it to dam something, or is it to allow? And so if the thing is that we are trying to keep people out of heaven, then I can see all this stuff of hell and condemnation and trying to put the fear of God in you, of other people. But if we were told that the kingdom is at hand, if we are told and taught about love and that God is love, if we are trying to open it up and trying to get in there ourselves, would it not behoove us to see it open and to see it free flowing and to see it, and to give up these ideas, these notions about our brothers? So it says then make the choice, but recognize that in this choice, the purpose of the world you see is chosen. So if it tells me, excuse me, if the course is telling me that I can't, that how I see my brother is how I see myself, what am I going to be? Am I going to be open and loving and permissive? Or am I going to see myself as if, oh, you know what, you're not worthy of being here? Come on now. I can't escape what I project. You can't escape what it is you project. You can't escape what you would see or how you would treat your brother. You cannot get around that. And so, are we going to be open, or are we going to try to shut them out and shut them up against it? And so it becomes this thing of how the experience that we anticipate is the one that we receive. So you guys, it's so interesting to me how we have all these notions, these perceptions about God and about all this stuff, and yet and still we become the same gatekeepers that we are, that have tried to shut us out of all this stuff in the first place. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love this teaching, because then it just has it shows us very differently how to relate to our brother. It shows us very differently the way that we say and do everything that we do. It shows us this very, very differently. So, um, mm, so condemn him not by seeing him within the rotting prison where he sees himself. It is your special function to ensure the door be opened. You hear me? It is your special function to ensure that the door be opened, and he may come forth to shine on you and give you back the gift of freedom by receiving it of you. What is the Holy Spirit's special function but to release the Holy Son of God from the imprisonment he made to keep himself from justice? Could your function be a task apart and separate from his own? I mean, come on now. And so, yes, I'm here. I'm here, and I am just totally elated to be where I am, to be in the midst of this, to be with you guys, and to know the truth. And because that, I mean, truly, 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 the truth. It is that truth that sets us all free. I'm so glad. I'm so happy about this stuff. Y'all don't even know. I mean, maybe you do, but it's so interesting, because for me, when I changed around, um, when I changed around how I was relating to people, I changed my own relationship with myself. There's a part of us, and I don't know, this may or may not be true with you, but I think it's probably true for most of us. How I talked the other day about how we condemn ourselves, how we always want to see ourselves in a separate, different light, all of that stuff. But we're so busy trying to condemn ourselves that we can't see the acceptance and the love that God would have for us. We can't see the truth beyond this. And I know you guys see it, but are we always preaching to the choir, or do we expect that somebody else is going to hear? I always have the expectation that someday somebody, that totally hadn't heard about the Course in Miracles, who totally doesn't know this perception of love, is going to, cue in. They're just going to float through this room, or on my website, or on YouTube, or on iTunes, or Ustream, or some other place where we've sprinkled these seeds of love. Somebody else is going to trip over it, and they're going to find it, and they're going to say, really? Really? Is it possible that I'm forgiven? Is it possible that I'm free? Is it possible that God looks on me and sees the love that I am? Really? And so, yes, the greatest privilege of a human life is to become a midwife to the awakening of the soul of another person. From Plato. Dove, thank you for that. Yeah, and so we're all, I mean, that's the reason why we're here. The reason why we do what we do, it's not just, it's not just for people who already know. I'm hoping, and I know this thing, we set it up and we've got all these teachers that come into the room, and we share who it is that we are. We share what's in our hearts. We share from the many perspectives that we may bring to this table. We share this. um we share the spots within ourselves that are just totally holy and perfect. And those spots within ourselves, we reach out from that spot to somebody else. And we say, hey, you know what? I got some candy. It's so sweet. And it was made for you. It's perfect for you. It's yours just because. And and by doing that, we recognize that same gift in somebody else and know that they'll pass that on. And then that race consciousness at some point can change from being about this thing of seeing violence and fear and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, to seeing love spread out upon the earth. And then if we touch one heart, everybody touches a heart, or two, or three, or four. As we touch those hearts, it becomes this global heart message. And it becomes about all of us. We get to change our perception. We get to change how we see things. We get to know the truth and know that this is our only function here. That our only function here is to do God's work. And you know what? And no matter what it is that we see and how we define it, it is all the same. It is just doing that work. That's my only function. That's what I do. That's what I love. And I may put it in 1,000 different disguises for you. I may dress it up all nice and pretty and frilly and get paid for it sometimes. Um, but that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that work, and that's what you're doing. And so your commitment and your dedication to be here is just wonderful. So let all of our thoughts, resonate and reflect the love that we are. Yeah, because there is no other thing to do. There is no other purpose. There is nothing else we need do but just let that miracle happen through us. And and for whomever. And I'll tell you guys, I'm discovering that there's so many different ways of getting that information out there, of meeting people where they are. And so maybe I'll go back and tell those people at that church, you know what? Yo, there's nothing to fear. That really that's not the way we were created, and that's not the story that God intended for us to have. And depending upon whose words we're listening to, we'll hear the fear, we'll hear the violence, we'll hear all those things that were never meant to be. And you know what? And let our gentleness, and that's what I try to do with my friend that's the minister. Let my gentleness just shine it away. Let my gentleness reflect to you the love that is really here, that is really there. And let me say it proudly. Let me bear witness to it. Thank you, God. Let me bear witness to it proudly. Because I told a friend of mine that the message that I got was that I should sin big. I should sin big. And you know what I heard her when she was like, I got that little sister girl like, girl, I don't believe in that stuff that you believe in. I got the sister girl part on, coming from her, but I said it anyway. I said it boldly. I said it proudly. And a lot of times what I notice is that sometimes we shy away from people who see things differently than us. But you know what we're here to do is to bear witness to the truth. The truth is love. And you know what? It's a sad day when fear wins out over that. It will not ever win out over that if we stand up and bear witness to that truth. So you guys, wherever you can, whenever you can, bear witness to love. Bear witness to the truth that you are, not just with other people who see it the way you do, but people who see it the exact opposite from you. From with everybody. I mean, it should be something that we can be able to shout from the rooftops, right? And say wherever we are present that Love is the truth. Love is your natural inheritance. And so by doing that, we remove not only our own blocks to our awareness of love presence, but we help others to remove theirs. Let's not be afraid to point it out and say, you know what? That's a place where you're withholding love. Whatever is not love is a call for love. Let us not withhold the love that we are. All right, and so with that, you guys, I want to say thank you. Hey, you're entitled to a miracle today, so be one, and you know what? You don't have to consciously do anything except for be willing. Be willing. All right, so this has been Sandra Bishop. I am sandrasaidit.com, SandraSaidit.com. I gotta take care of my website some. On Twitter at Sandbishop, SanBishop. Follow me or friend me on Facebook, Sandra D Bishop, or Sandra Thrives if you go to facebook.com/Sandra Thrives. Oh, Veronica, bless your heart. Love you. And so let me make way. All right, you guys, I'll see you next week on Monday from 7 to 8 o'clock. All right. So with that, I'm dropping the mic. See ya. All right. I'm gone. See ya.